Russell Drysdale may not be a household name these days, but chances are the images he painted remain vivid in the minds of most Australians. From cricketers to country towns and the ravages of drought, Drysdale's paintings made him one of the most famous Australian artists of the 20th century, even earning him a knighthood. And they also helped open a nation's eyes to itself. Drysdale died in 1981, but to commemorate the centenary of his birth, the National Trust S.H. Ervin Gallery in Sydney is holding an exhibition of some of his most celebrated drawings and paintings. Scott Bevan has been given a preview by the artist's daughter, Lynn Clark.
Now, for most of us, this is art history, Australian history, but I guess for you it's kind of like a family picture album.
It is. It is exactly that. When you grow up with a painter for a father, it's your whole life. He's at home working, and that's what you know.
So these are World War II paintings?
Yes, these were painted in Rose Bay, when we lived in Rose Bay during the war, and a lot of friends, my parents, or they got to know during the war, would come into the Rose Bay hangars, Catalina's and the Sunderland pilots. And you can see these are nocturnes, really. He was very taken by the power of this subject matter. And my brother and I used to go down the car when someone they knew was coming in and sit in the back seat, and contraband cigarettes and alcohol were brought in, and we'd sit on top of them and go past the guards out of the hangar with this quite vital contraband in the car. But because he wasn't in the war, I think this was a really powerful subject for him.
Your dad felt as though he was contributing in some way to the war effort, didn't he, by showing it? Because he tried to sign up, didn't he?
He did. He was devastated he wasn't in the war. It was because he knew so many people were. He was of a generation where it was... We don't understand it now. I mean, most people you hope would be conscientious objectors, but he really was devastated not to take part in the war. So I think that what he did was his contribution. And our house at Rose Bay was an open house for all sorts of people who'd come for R&R, really. So parties all night.
Part of the war effort as well, really, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And ironically, for a man of vision, as your dad clearly was, it was because of his vision that he was knocked back, isn't it?
Yes, that's it. Yes, he had the sight in one eye, had a detached retina in one eye, and he was knocked back because of that. We're looking at a beautiful little drought painting, a gem, I think. This is a lovely little painting. The Sydney Morning Herald commissioned him to illustrate a series on the drought in the 40s. It was a terrible time. And that really tipped him over, I think, with his work, that he was so overwhelmed. He'd lived in the Riverina, and that was quite a different landscape along the Murray, but he went out west when animals were dying, and it was just shocking. I always think of this country with the size of the population. People were in the cities, and we didn't have television, we had radio, and we had a few magazines and papers, so people weren't seeing, who weren't in the country, what it was like in the drought. And I think he gave them a shock. I love these paintings. These are paintings of Melville Island, Aborigines at Melville Island. And he said that if he was walking by himself, he'd think, oh, someone's behind me, and there'd be a couple of people there, and they were just protecting him from the spirits around, looking after him. He felt those things, which I think more Australians are now, beginning to understand and feel the people of this ancient country. Not all of his paintings are top-notch, but a lot of them are, and this drawing exhibition has a wow factor, I'd say. I'm terribly proud of him.
These are you?
These are me.
What's the story behind these?
Oh, well, The one on the left was painted in Paris. I was born in 1938, and that painting was painted in 1939. The other one is a study for the later paintings. I think there were two where I held a posy of flowers, and I would have been about 10 or 11 when they were painted. We were subjects, a subject.
Everything is material for an artist, huh?
Yes.
And it's better than a photo.
Oh, of course, it's a treasure. Yes. And he had friends around the world. He could sort of adapt like a chameleon, but he really loved just being with old mates, or he loved being out in the country, yarning in a pub with, the blokes. That's what he was.
And the Russell Drysdale exhibition is on at the S.H. Ervin Gallery in Sydney until the 25th of March. Scott Bevan with that preview.